Hey everyone, Benny the Finance Dog here. Welcome to my channel. As we do every Sunday, we'll be previewing the week ahead as we get ready for an impactful week in the markets and a start to a new quarter, month, and back half of the year. This week we'll be talking about what to expect between July 3rd and the 7th. First, let's take a look at the economic calendar. A holiday impacts 2 trading days this week as we begin a start to a new month and a new quarter on the third, we will have a shortened trading day, and on the fourth, markets will be closed. Something to keep an eye on as you enter trades. Markets will be closed early on Monday and not open at all. So Wednesday is really the first full trading day of the week, and we do have the Fed FOMC minutes scheduled to be released that day, which makes for an interesting setup to the week, as usually on the FOMC minute days we do see a little bit of action right at open, but then things kind of chop until the minutes release, though they don't have a major impact in the way that the FOMC press conference does. They do have the ability to sway markets as they outline kind of future action. So an interesting first 3 days of the week, and then beyond that, not very many events. We have our normal unemployment numbers that come out on a monthly basis, and then the non-farm payroll reports on Thursday and Friday, which could drive investor sentiment. So light calendar, but also a light week with a couple of days being closed. Moving on to some news that might directly affect traders. Over the weekend, Tesla announced their car deliveries for the second quarter of the year and smashed expectations. They delivered a record 466,140 cars worldwide in the second quarter alone, which beat Wall Street estimates. Put it in perspective, that's a whopping 83% increase over the same quarter last year. So quite the move for Tesla to announce on Saturday. We could see, obviously, Tesla gain even more momentum than it had building up. As trading opens on Monday, likely a pop following the news, but it could be a kind of sell the news type event where now that the numbers have come out, we could see a retracement. The market is due for a retracement overall. We'll go over this a little bit more when we go over SPY and QQQ and Apple charts, but definitely something to keep an eye on, especially with Tesla being one of the leading risers of this year as far as gains year to date. Lastly, not necessarily news, but it does concern Apple. Apple crossed over the $3 trillion market cap number last week and had an impressive rally on Friday to close out the quarter. We could see some retracement as we head into this week, but typically the beginning few trading days of the month are generally positive. And since we don't have a ton of reporting next week, even with the holiday, we could see the rally continue. Once we get over to the charts, we will kind of see from a technical standpoint how this can go. Now, as we do every Sunday, let's review the charts from a higher time frame for SPY, QQQ, and Apple. Starting with SPY, on the monthly chart, we can see that we broke through that 440 level to close out June and actually closed above it, closing at 443.28 on SPY thanks to Friday and the week's rally. So pretty solid week for SPY, and we're in a pretty good position. We could see a little bit of retracement to begin the month, maybe a bounce at 440, which was that key level that we closed over on the monthly. But the next monthly level really isn't until 450, so we could see July month continue the upwards trend. Before there, we are starting to form a little bit of a cup for those of you that pay attention to chart patterns on the monthly. So we could continue this rally all the way to 480 before a major retracement goes, but as most traders would likely agree, we'd probably want to see a healthy pullback prior to that. Switching over to the weekly, see the same thing kind of here, right? A very strong week, kind of like a 3-bar action with the last 3 weeks on the technical chart, and basically powered through that 440 mark and don't necessarily have a ton of levels that are very different from the monthly. We could see a little bit of price action happen at this 444 level, 445.75, so that's something to watch for a rejection as we go in this week. And then we're really clear till 448 if we're looking at the weekly on SPY. So definitely lots of room to the upside. The downside case is we just kind of come back through the levels that we had previously set on the weekly. On the downside, 437, we could getting a bounce there, 433, 432.50, and of course 430 being that major level of support on SPY. So something to keep out watch of moving into this week. Moving over to QQQ. Same thing, a little interesting here. We actually closed underneath a level we had previously established at 370. We closed under 369.42. This kind of goes with the overarching theme as the heat of tech slows down, other industries are starting to pick up, like financials, energy, things of that nature. Tech is kind of starting to slow down its meteoric rise that it's had throughout the course of the year. So to close under that 370 level on the monthly could indicate that a pullback in the tech names are coming, though it's not 100% certain. Switching over to the weekly, we kind of get that same 3-bar action that we had on SPY, though this one is a lot tighter of a range. Makes me think that based on how we closed the week, we could be in for that retracement on QQQ. If we are, we have levels at 367.50, 366, 363, and of course the major psych level of 365 is always in play. To the upside, if we do head that way, obviously 370 is a level, 372.50 is another level, and then 375 before we head to 378 on the way to the upside. So those are the levels on watch for this week on QQQ. And now as we head to Apple, looking at the monthly for Apple, we just had a huge June and obviously a tremendous week to close out the month here. We have now broken well above the previous all-time high and closed just under 195. So if you have been watching these videos diligently, you know the levels I had kind of labeled out, or the 190, 195, 200 levels. Pretty much just came up very close to 195. 194.50 is kind of expected when you're having this kind of boom of a rally. So on the monthly here, we don't really have levels to the upside except for those major psych levels. I think 195, 197.50, and 200 are just on watch from a psych level standpoint, but we're in kind of no man's land. You could use, fib retracements or something like that to kind of map out where they'll break out to on the upside. I'm not a huge fan of those. I'd rather just kind of wait and see on the upside. Obviously, from a monthly standpoint, technicals kind of go out the window when we're approaching all-time highs. I will say this likely does need a little bit of a breather, as we've had 6 straight months of a rally on this name, and it could be time for a pullback. Switching over to the weekly, we see the same thing kind of here. Obviously, a very extended run on the weekly chart. A massive week last week to close out. Opened at 186, finished at 193. I'm no mathematician, but that is a fairly significant percentage gain for the course of the week. Probably like we haven't seen since the end of April was probably the next largest one, and even then we still didn't get quite as big as a move. You'd have to go back all the way to the last week of January before we get an even bigger move than the one we got last week, and that was preceded by a bit of a pullback, which is to be expected, I think, in this holiday shortened week. So on the pullback levels, you can probably identify some more on the daily. We'd also be looking at to where we started at the beginning of the week of 186. 190 is in play. 192 is also in play, just as psych levels, 192.50 being. So that would be what I would be keeping on watch for Apple moving forward into the week. An interesting week. I'm probably going to take it light from a trading standpoint, just in because of the holidays. Obviously, I'd like to not be glued to a computer when we're out just celebrating America's Independence Day. So I will probably release some videos as to what I'm looking for in terms of levels as we go day by day. So probably no video on Tuesday, one on Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, though, is my commitment to you. So thanks for watching. Hopefully you draw your own levels and are getting a little bit of work done on this extended holiday weekend. Thanks as always for watching. Make sure to like and subscribe for more content. Woof woof.